Welcome everyone for today's webinar session on quick and easy dashboards. I'm welcome everyone for this session, for the first session this morning, local time, and we have another session later on today. My name is Shai Ben-Atan, and I'm a pre-sale and BI expert in Panorama, and I'll be your guided for today. Your guidance for today. You can ask your questions at the end of the session, and at any time you can use the raise hand for asking any question that you have. But at the end of the session, I'll give an open line for asking any kinds of questions that you have. So we'll start the webinar, and I'm just sharing my screen right now. So first of all, I do hope that you can all hear me, and I'm also sharing the screen. This will be a recorded session, so at the end of this session, probably later on today or tomorrow, or during this week, we'll send you the recorded session for the participations. So you'll have it as a recorded session. So let's start with the session. This is the homepage of Necto, as everyone knows, and from this homepage we'll create a very simple and fast workboard that I'll show you how easy it is to convey with Necto. So we'll start with using this draw pen over here, and we'll have this two possibilities to create a workboard. So either you're creating a workboard as a blank workboard, or you're creating a workboard which is based on data. Now, creating a workboard based on a data means that you have already a data that is available for you, either through your data source or either using an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to use this option just for this session, but at the end of this session, just before we're closing the session, I'll show you how you can create also a blank workboard using the same, more or less the same process, but you can build your own workboard without basing in the beginning on creating with your data. So let's choose this this option with using the data. Once I'm clicking on this option, I'm getting the wizard screen, and the wizard screen shows me ways of connections. So I can connect to an Excel spreadsheet, I can connect to a multi-dimensional analysis, to a tabular, or to a model, or also to an OLAP, which is the cube itself. So either those possibilities are available, and of course I can connect to the database. Okay, so if I have a connection to the database, I can connect directly to the database by using this those options over here. So I can connect to a SQL server or to any kind of SAP, and also to those connections that you have over here that it listed over here. But just to show you how fast it is and how fast and how convenient it is and how easy it is, we'll choose the Excel spreadsheet for our demonstration. So I'm selecting the Excel file, and I'm going to double click on this Excel sheet, and I'm getting another additional step over here. So the next step will be either to use a local file, which is an uploaded file from my local machine, or using a shared folder, or either a net coming from the network. Now those two possibilities are the ones that I can connect to, while the file could be a dynamic file. So if you have a file which is always updated, I can use that for my convenience, and I can use a specific folder or a specific network for that. Or if there is only a one-time file, I can use this file to upload this file and to use this static file. Either those three possibilities are available, but again, just for our demonstration, I'm going to use a file which is available here. Try this file, and I'm going to double click on that, and the only next thing that I need to do is to click on the save, just to save this example, and I'm getting a layout wizard that says, okay, how would you like to have this layout? So I can have this layout using a graph and a chart, and I can also have just a grid and a grid and a chart. I can also have a map and a grid, and I can also have a chart and a map, and I can also have a grid, chart, and map. Either those possibilities are available, or either using the grid itself or the chart. It doesn't mean that this is what I'm going to have in my workboard. It's just a layout, an initial layout for creating that. So I'm going to select this, just this one over here, and I'm going to to check those two, because I'm going to use this later on, those automatic insights and these filters, those slicers in, and I'm going to call this workboard. So I'm going to give it a name, a demo for today, and the only next thing that I have to do is click on the finish button. So Necto will build the hierarchies and will build the slicers, and this is how easy it is. So in just a few seconds I created a workboard, an initial workboard, and now I'm having a workboard based on data. So I can now start working with my data, and you can see that on the left side I have those slicers which already been built for me. I have the hierarchies built for me. I have this geography in the states. Once I click on the plus icon, I'm getting Florida being drilled into the Miami and Orlando. So I'm getting a drill option to drill for other cities. So I have a build hierarchy already as well. So I can see that once I'm clicking on this plus icon, I'm having this chart over here being extended as well, being drilled as well. So this is the way that I'm starting to work with my workboard. I have this design mode, so I'm in a design mode where I can, start using the components over here at the right side and dragging those components into the workboard. As well, I have this insight over here, that you see this triangle over here that is giving me an insight, because the insight at the top of the screen is being turned on. This is the insight, the one-click insight for Necto, one of the greatest Necto functionalities that Necto provides you an automatic insight by the percentage that you're bringing in. So Necto analyzes the data that you have according to a time dimension and provides you an answer with whether whether the data is on a decrease or whether it's on an increase. Now I have probably sales information over here, which is for this demonstration across those states, and I can see that there is a decrease of growth between 2013 to 2014, and that's why I have this kind of a triangle over here that says that there is a decrease of growth, because I wanted to have this insight by building those -5%. So there is a threshold over here that says give me all of those decreases that are lower than -5% and more than 5%. So Necto provides me this information and bring me on this decrease of growth. Now, from this point, I'm very independent with myself to continue building my workboard, and with very easy and fast functionalities. So let's say that I want to use this workboard and I just want to display just a chart. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to switch on with this icon over here to show only the chart. So now I'm showing only the chart, but let's say I want to have additional component. So to add additional component, there are two ways of doing that. The first way is either I'm using the right side here with these components that I'm using over here, and I'm going to use the view component. Now the view component is going to go through the same process that I did currently now. So I'm going to drag this component to the workboard, and I'm going to place it somewhere at the top, somewhere at the right, somewhere at the left, or at the bottom, and that's the way that I can control over that. So once I'm going to put this component at the right side, I'm getting this database connection being established again. Okay, so the only thing that I need to do right now is click again on the Excel here, and so double click on the Excel and bring back again this example, this sample Excel file into the workboard. Now, this is the first option, which it's going to take you more time. So I'm going to give you a trick right now, or a tip, to use a very fast way to create the same component without creating it from scratch. So I'm going to use this component over here, and I'm going to replicate this component by clicking on this scrapwork icon over here. So the scrapper icon is basically a kind of a desktop, additional desktop for myself, where I'm going to drag this component to this area. So I'm going to click on the header of this component, and I'm going to put it here. So I'm having the scrapwork right now with an additional component, the same component. You see this is the same component, and I'm going to drag it back again to the workboard where I want. So either on the right side, at the top, at the bottom, or at the left where the arrows are. So I'm going to place it at the left side. So Necto provides me now two identical components, which I'm going to work with one of them, and I'm going to change them. Now this happens in just a few seconds, and now I can work with this replication, and I can change that. So let's go back again to this layout and change it to a grid. So let's use a different dimension over here. So let's replace the geography with equipment. So now I'm replacing the equipment, and I'm going to use these numbers over here, and I'm going to display it as a chart again. Now I'm having a different chart over here, and I'm going to give a nice color. So I'm going to change it to a different color, and I'm going to use a different chart over here. So let's use for this one a stacked area chart, and you can see that I can control on the second component while the first component is left all alone. So that's a very fast way to bring over components and to control components without building from scratch. Another thing that I can do with this one is to add additional components to the workboards. So if you want to add additional components, like using this navigation, so I can bring over a navigation and starting to use dimension as filters. So let's say that I want to have a dimension member that will control all those two components. So it's basically going to be a filter that's going to slice the information that I have on these two components, and I've already placed it at the top of those components. So once I drag this component over here, the navigation designer is opened, and now I can choose from one of the views over here the dimension that I'd like to slice at, either a dimension or a measure. So let's say that I want to use the city over here, and I'm going to select a multiple selection for that, and the initial value will be all. And I'm going to apply the all relevant views, so I'm going to apply this slicer to be applied to those two components. So now I'm going to click on the OK button, and now I'm having a nice navigation called city. And now I can change this component, this navigation, to show a different city. So if I want to select Cleveland, I'm going to select Cleveland, and I'm going to have this slicers over here to be changed. So you see though those components already been changed to a different graph, and now I'm having this graph over here that shows by state, because Cleveland is belongs to Ohio, is part of Ohio, so I'm having a different display, a different visualization of the data for those two components. And I can of course select more than one by place and hold the shift button and click on Cleveland, Columbus, and Dallas, and bring in with this one. And now I'm having Virginia as the state, and I'm having a different data for this left component over here. Now I can drag as much as I want, because I can reuse this component to the workboard area as much as I want. So I can bring it over here, and now I'm having 3 components over, and I can control, and I can start playing with this, and I can of course start editing and look and feel for that. So this is the way to bring over components and to control on components without building them from scratch. I can, of course, use this parameter over here by mousing over and focusing on a component, and I can see on a specific view and start working on a specific view. So if I want to change the title over here, I can just click on this one that says inherit properties from the workboard by switching it to no, and now I will have additional parameters, additional properties for this component to be in an enable position, in an enable status. So I can click on the text file over here to type the text. So the text will be here date hierarchy. So now I'm having a date hierarchy over here, and I'm going to click on the apply, and the date and the header of the component is switching over to what I've actually typed in. I can also, of course, use the text color. So if I want to color it in a different way, I can color it in a different color, and I can, of course, apply over here by using the apply button to save by changes. Now, I can also work by maximizing the component and using some additional actions, some additional parameters on this component. So in this component, I'm going to click on the maximize icon over here. And now I'm having, I entered into a maximize mode for this particular component, and I'm clicking again on the same icon over here, the properties icon, and I'm switching over to a chart by clicking from this drop down because I'm handling with a chart. And now I'm having additional properties that I can force on this component. So I can, I can start working with the colors over here because I want to change the color of the graph. So one bar chart will be in a different color than the second one. So what I can use is that, first of all, I can inherit properties from skin. I'm going to change it to no. And then all the properties which were in the disable mode will be in a new mode. So the first series is saying to me, I will change it to, and I will apply that. Now, if I had additional series, like if I had additional state over here, not only Virginia, I could control on those colors over here to change the color. So I can change the color of a series. I can also change the date labels. I can change the color of the date labels. Everything here is being editable when I'm going to click on the inherit properties from screen. So everything here is being editable, and I can change that. And I can also, for example, if you have a very big label, like if the label down below is really big, is really long, you can change that to a rotation angle. So when you go down, you click on the label's rotation angle and you rotate it by 20%, and it will be rotated according to the number that you provided. So long task can be also being controlled on that, and everything else can be also being controlled with the colors, the rotations, and also the text over here. So switching back to a minimize screen, I can also use other components over here. So if you have a text component that you want to use and give the workword a name, this will be the name. And I can click on that and type the name of the header that I want and change the color over here and put it in bold and also over here. And I can also use what is called a placeholder. So we have what is called a placeholder, which is also something very convenient for your use, is that you can use the placeholders which are coming as a syntax, as a steady syntax, as a static syntax that you can use that Necto provides you. So if you want to know, like, what is the cube name, or what is the database name, so if you click on the database name, the percentage, DB name percentage, and you click on the apply, this will be being combined with this text over here. And once I'm going to click on the OK, I'm going to have the database name. This is the database names of this workword, and Necto provides me it quite immediately. So if I'm going to click on this icon over here to edit again the text component, I can use any other kinds of text of placeholders that you would like to use. So either you want to use what is the server name, when was the last refresh of the cube, so you can use this as well with the cube date. So if you click on the apply over here, it will give you the last time when this workboard was refreshed. So if you're using a cube, if you're using a tabular, if you're using any kinds of a data source that you refreshed lately, and it's also outside of the workboard, it will provide you the time and the date of when the cube was refreshed. A very, very important texting that usually customers usually combine it into the workboard. So we saw a text component, and we also have additional components over here that we can use. So if you want to use an image, you can also use an image. So if you want to place your logo, you can put your logo over here, either using from a local machine by browsing over a JPEG or a PNG file, or from a remote server. So if you have a remote server and the picture is over there, you can of course use a URL for that and put the remote picture over here, and it will be placed over here as well. You can also use a web HTML, an HTML component, and you can use also a map. So if you are open to a map, we can use what is called a map for that. So we're going to place a map over here in this section, and the map is going to be provided quite immediately as well. So as you can see over here, we have already been adding a map because we have already geography inside our data. So once we're having a map being added, a component of a map being added, I can visualize the map, because right now I have only Virginia. But if I'm going to switch over and to see additional cities, remember that we have a city being selected. So I'm just going to remove the navigation component to show instead of Virginia. So I'm going to switch over with this graph over here to show only a grid, and to go back again to show all geographies. So I'm going to switch over and replace that with an equipment again, and I'm just going to switch again to show with a geography over here, and now I'm getting Virginia. So if I drill down from Virginia, I'm getting Richmond. So now I'm having Richmond in the map, because Richmond belongs also to Virginia. And now you can also control on the map over here to change the map to a different template that you want. So there is also a control on the data visualization of the map by using a different map, a different kind of a template to the map. So now I'm having a different template to the map for Richmond as well, and I can use this drill over to collapse Richmond and to show all Virginia again. And of course, if I had from the beginning, if I had all states in, I can of course use all states to show all the states in United States, of course, and the map will be updated accordingly. That's pretty much for the components that you can use. You can also use, of course, from the components an infographic. An infographic is a way to data visualization. There are sessions related to just for the infographics ways to how to build infographics on your own part. But that's for a different session. You can use this for data visualization. What I'd like also to show you is that we're going to take this workboard, and I'm going to mash up this workboard with additional workboards, so additional data. So if you have this data over here and you want to mash up with additional data, a different one, you can use that in the same workboard. And there are no limitations of the numbers of the combinations that you would, of those mashups that you would like to use using this workboard with additional data. So here is how you can do that. So I'm going to get rid of some of the graphs over here, and I'm going to give some space over. And let's say that I want to use I want to connect to additional data source. And with data source, I'd like to bring over another data into this workboard over here. So I'm going to use this view component over here, and I'm going to place it on the right side by dragging this component. And now I'm going to use a multidimensional and a model. So the model is coming from Necto. There is a model specifically for that. And I'm going to select one of the models over here, which is a logistic model. And I'm going to just click on the model and click on the finish. So again, Necto provides me information from a different data source from a model that is based in Necto, but it also can be a data source which is outside of Necto, and it brings me additional information. So it brings me somewhere from Italy, and it brings me additional data, and the measures that I can have over here will be additional measures coming from the Italian, this Italian client over here. So I'm getting all those measures that are coming in with this information, and you see that I already have this one-click insight that shows me that I have numbers over here that I can use. So if I click on this error over here, I'm going to have this. So I'm just going to cancel this option over here. Yeah, so let's try to do something here. So it looks like it takes some time. So I'm going to click on Necto again to connect again to Necto. Yeah, it's still working. So let's log in again. So again, creating a workboard, I'm going to use a multidimensional right now. So I'm going to click on the multidimensional over here, and I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to take a different one. I'm going to call this a name, and I'm going to click on a finish. Now I'm going to connect to a different model over here. So Necto creates me again the hierarchies, the workboard, and I'm having additional information over here. And let's say that I want to mash up another one over. So again, dragging this view component over here, clicking on the Necto model, and bringing over an additional model. So additional model over here, I could connect also to another database if I like. But let's say that I want to use this workboard over here, and I'm going to use this one over here, and I'm just going to click on the finish button to bring over additional information over. So, and click on the one-click insight again, and you see that I'm getting click insights. I'm getting insights for this workboard from a different model, and this insights from additional model as well. So that's the way how you can actually control and connect. So I can connect to another database if I want, and to place them over at the bottom side. So I can connect right now to a cube. So if I have a cube already, I can connect to an all-up cube by clicking on this adventures work, clicking on the finish, and it brings over the information in. So three components, three different components per each one from different model or from even different data source type. So those two are for models. This one is basically from an MS OLAP, and those three components are basically three components that are acting solely independently alone, and I can start working with them. So if I want to just use the grid over here, I can just use the grid, and add additional, so add before and add after. I can use additional dimensions over, so adding before, and also I can add after a measure. I can also add additional information over. So the grid is being, of course, being refreshed, being updated according to the information that I had. So other things that I can work on, and it's basically going to be working with, is that you can use also formulas in the grid. So if you want to use a sum, so I'd like to calculate all those three columns over here. I will select those three columns over here, those three headers. I have to mouse over on the header by clicking FY 2002. So my mouse, the mouse is being hover on this 2002. Then I'm going to press and control the second column and the third. And on the third one, I can use what is called a formula and use the sum formula for that. And I'm going to give a sum for the formula, a name for the formula. And now I have a sum, a summarizing of all those three columns inside the grid. Now, all of these are things that are possible inside the grid table and comes really, really quickly. So you can have these formulas over here, and you can, of course, change this formula to be an average one. So the average one will be like pressing again all those three, and I'll add in a formula that says put me an average one. And now I will have an average formula for all of those three, and that will be my average. Other things that I can use for this grid chart is that I can rotate this grid chart to show a grid chart from a rotation point of view. So now I'm having the date, instead of having it as an y-axis, I'm having the date fiscal as a x-axis. So now the grid is being rotated, and I can use this as well. I can also use what is called to have a filter on the data. So let's say I want to have the top two, which has the largest amount in my data. Now I can see that for this cube, all of the information is having the same numbers. So let's go over here, for example, and let's say that I want to have for this grid over here. So I'm going to switch to a grid to show only a grid chart just for my convenience. And I'm going to use this chart over here that says value filter. So this grid right now is showing a value filter, and I'm going to click on the filter over here that says give me the top count 2, and I'm going to click on the at level city. So it's going to be on a city, and now I'm having only 2 cities. So you saw that the grid table was minimized or shrinked from the previous one to the new one. So switching back again, I can see all the geography here, all the countries here. I'm going to click on 2013 value filter, clicking on the filter over here, top count 2, and at level city. Now I can deselect this at level and say give me those 2 top countries. Otherwise I can click on the level and says drill down to show me which of those from those countries are the top 2 cities. Once I click on the OK, I'm getting those two here. Other things that I can use, I can also use what is called sorting. So I can sort from the top to the bottom one. I can sort from, of course, by using this one. And I can also, if I want, I can also reorder. So there is a way to reorder by clicking on this icon over here. I can click on Australia, for example, on the arrow over here and reorder. So now I can reorder if I want the countries. If I want, I can reorder this dimension by saying I want to see Canada before Australia, and I can reorder that. So now Canada appears before. And again, you saw that the information from the chart, so the actions that you can use the chart for are very, very easy, very fast. You can switch only to show a chart and you can choose your own chart. So if you want to use a line chart, you can do that. If you want to change the color, you can change the color. If you want to switch over to show grid and a chart, you can do that. And if you want to just to use the grid, you can do that as well. You can also rotate, and you can also, as said, you can also filter and sort the information. We also learned today that you can control on the chart and on the grid by using the properties, either by maximizing the component or using the property screen. We also learned today that we can replicate the same component without building it from scratch. We can use also the components at the right side over here to use any kind of component by building a good workboard with additional components. This one-click insight, it's something that you can always use for your convenience to show a decrease or increase of the behavior of the information. And also we saw that we can use also what we said to use the coloring. So you can change the color of the chart. You can also, by the way, change the color of the grid, but you can also change the color of the chart by, again, logging with the by using the maximize icon, and then by using the properties icon to use this to change the colors. I'm going to switch over to the question section. So I'm going to give you additional 5 to 10 minutes when the line is going to be opened. You can raise your hand by using the raise option to see if you have any kinds of questions posted. And at the end of the session, I will put the line open for you to ask any question that you have. If there is any, feel free to either write me in a question section or then we're going to use the section for the line is going to be open for that. So I'm going to put myself on hold and see if you have any question that is posted for this session. Okay, so there is a question coming from, sorry, I'm going to put myself with this question over here. So I'm going to, so from Harry Green, if I'm not mistaken, he's asking what is the amount of the data it can hold. So it's, the question is, so there is no, the answer for that would be in 2 ways, okay? First of all, what is your data? Okay, what is the amount of your data that you would like to support? So again, there is no limitation for the data that it can hold as long as you have a good supportive server. So again, Necto comes, what you see over here, this is the application, but behind the scenes there is the SSAS and a SQL management and a good steady server that there are prerequisites prior to installing the Necto server. So for all of this, if you have a good server with the good prerequisites for that, like high gigabyte RAM and good capacity, large capacity, then Necto can control over that. So we can support millions of records, thousands of millions of records. There are no limitations of the data that it can hold. Now, from your point of view, you need, of course, to control, you need to structure your data correctly so it can be supported. But as for your question, there is no limitation of amount of data that it can hold as long as the background is being stable and it's being supported as well with the prerequisites that we're sending prior to the installation. So I hope I did answer your question. Just let me know through the questions area, through this questions section, if I haven't. So how does the performance of the dashboard? So again, all of those questions are coming from Hari Krishna. Now I can see the name clearly. Sorry for that previously. Okay, how was the performance? How is the performance for the dashboard if the data increases? Okay, so that's a good question, Hari Krishna. I'll provide you the answer for that. So what Necto provides is that there is what we say behind the scenes. There is this kind of performance with load balancing, with the clustering. So the Necto, the Panorama Necto is often installed with large networks with hundreds of thousands of users. Now, the Necto Intelligence Server is designed with special care for high performance and high availability to enable that optimal certain best practices that should be followed with the installation over large networks. Now, in many of those cases, the software recommends to install more than one Necto server using the Microsoft Servers clustering technology for IIS servers. Now, this solution for these IIS servers utilizes its features by flavoring the capabilities and load balancing for high performance. When you're using this kind of configuration, there is a need for special care for installation and configuration of the Panorama system. Now, the things that you need to understand is that the Microsoft Server family provides integrated clustering for services and for technologies to deliver higher levels of service and availability. The Windows Servers family provides this by two types of clustering services. One is cluster service and the other one is network load balancing. So that's how you're loading the balances with this information. Okay, another question coming from, you're welcome, Hari Krishna. Another question coming from Martin Zavadan. You had your question, if we have a time dimension, can we see only year and month and skip the quarter? So the answer for that is yes, and I'm going to show you how actually you're controlling that. So we're going to control it through the Necto design. What we're going to do is that we're going to switch over to the model itself in Necto. And now I'm going to select one of the, just one of the, one of my models over here. I just want to use one of them without saving that and to see if I have any kind of date over here. So here is a date over. So what I'm showing you right now, Martin, is for Necto Designer, but you can use the same, it goes as the same in the tabular. So in the tabular, if you're using the tabular and you're working with the date inside the tabular model and you're setting up the date, you can control if you want to see just what is the hierarchy for that. So you have this possibility as well. So in the dates over here, I'm going to select just a custom for that. So I can select with the custom level over here and say that I want to see just year, month, and day. and now I'm going to select just the year, month, and day. Once I click on the apply button and apply it again and publish the model, then the information will be saved. The same one goes for the tabular model. So in the tabular model, you have the same possibility to use in the tabular model and to switch it on and to change it and to use just and select just the year, month, and day without the quarters in. It has this possibility with the same structure, with the same way. Okay, any other questions coming in? Okay, just let me see if you have any other questions coming in. Just looking for additional questions. Okay, question coming from Kulawele, hope I pronounce your name well. You're asking, is there any data quality management capability with this product? The answer for that, as far as I know, is that the data, if you're referring to the data cleansing, like using the correct data or referential integrity for that, the answer for that is no. Unless if there is one, as far as I know, again, my answer for that is no, but I can double check that for you if there is any kind of data quality management tool that comes with the product, and I'll come back to you. So if you could just provide me through the questions poll, if you could just provide me your email address, I can come back to you with an answer on that just during today. And you will get an answer, but as far as I know, the answer for that is no. The entire responsibility is at your side to clean the data and to create the referential integrity between the tables. All right, let's see if we have other questions coming on. So questions. One question from another question from Hari Krishna. Is there any separate storage for Necto, or it will be used the database storage? Okay, so Necto, basically Necto reads or directed into directly to the database. Okay, so it doesn't actually uses any kind of database that is being used locally. So everything is being created directly if you are connecting to a database or to a storage. Okay. But it will use the database storage for that. So it will use the database storage that is being installed in Necto server, and it's part of Necto prerequisites for installation. So if you're following the prerequisites of Necto, then you will see that it uses basically the database storage that is being dedicated to Necto for that, and it's not using a separate storage. What it does do, and you saw that it creates databases. So if you're creating a workbook, it must give a name for that, and the name that it gives a database name for that, which you can then go into the SQL management and to query the database. But everything is done on the Nectar server side with its own prerequisites. Okay, good questions from everyone. Any other questions so far? I hope I have answered to all of the questions raised. Please let me know if I haven't, and if you have any additional questions, I'll put myself again on mute for 2-3 minutes, and we'll wrap up the session. So I'm putting myself on mute again, and please ask any question. Kolawele, please provide me your email address that I can send you an answer for your questions on the data quality management. Just provide your email address again by typing on the question pool again. And I see that there are no other questions, so we'll then of course wrap up this session. So I thank you everyone for joining for today's session. I'll see you in the next sessions to come. We'll send you the recorded session as well, and I do hope that this session was valuable for you, and we'll see you in the next sessions to come. Thank you very much.